Okay, are we live? Let me go just look at YouTube and take a look.
Hey, everybody.
I think there's always that like awkward, are we live? And also, I think we're on LinkedIn right now too. If my laptop wasn't struggling so much, I'd go and take a look myself. But let's just see. Can we get a confirmation in the Matrix room chat? Can y'all see us and see our screens? And are we live now?
I can confirm that I see the YouTube insert on the Matrix channel, so I think we're good. We've got confirmation. Let's go, Justin. Let's go.
All right. It's showtime. All right, folks. Well, welcome to the Fedora Linux 44 release party. I'm super happy to welcome you all to the party. Next slide, Jeff.
Roger Dodger.
So this virtual event is an opportunity to celebrate the work of our contributor community over the last 6 months, and to also recognize all the people behind all of this hard work. Fedora Linux 44 was a pretty busy release. We had 50 accepted changes in this release, 17 system-wide, 33 self-contained. And you're going to hear about some of those changes in this release party today. There is a few new things, though, or really just one. While we continue to live stream out to YouTube, we're also live streaming to LinkedIn for the first time. Hello, LinkedIn viewers. Additionally, all of the action for this release party is taking place on Matrix. To gain access to Matrix, it's not too late to register a ticket and get an invitation. You can come and hang out with all of your Fedora friends around the world for the next few hours on Matrix. Next slide. So now it's time to introduce your hosts. Jeff, you want to start? Who are you?
Yeah,
anyways.
Sure. Hey, I'm Jeff. I am the new Fedora project leader. I've been on the job for about 11 months now. Some of you will remember me as an early contributor to the project, and I spent 18 years in the wilderness of Alaska, and now I'm back on the East Coast, and I am lucky enough to have gotten the role of Fedora project leader from Matthew Miller when he stepped down. So that's me. And now, hey, Justin.
Hello. Many of you have probably seen me before. My name is Justin. I've been in the Fedora community for about 11 years now, and I've been the Fedora community architect at Red Hat since 2022. You can find me around on Matrix, Fedora discussion, all the Fedora places. Next slide. And this one's an honorary shout out because normally there'd be a third person up here, and she hasn't been here for this party or the last one because she's been out on a maternity leave for a little while, but she's going to be back next month. So I had to put this in there because we're going to be really excited.
I am looking forward to her coming back so I don't have to fail at doing some of her job.
Me too. She's also a big part of the release party, so you'll expect to see her in the next one too. But just want to give that shout out. Next slide. And also, this is something also a little bit new. I mean, it's not new, but I just want to say before we get too far, I did want to give a special shout out to our virtual event sponsor, Element Creations, for providing the platform and tools that bring our global community together to celebrate all this hard work that we did. Not only do we use Matrix to host our virtual events, just like this release party, but we also use it every day as part of our work contributing to the Fedora project. Did you know that you can also find all of the Fedora contributor ecosystem on Matrix? We have several rooms for teams, special interest groups, working groups. So if you're joining us on Matrix for the first time today, we encourage you to explore around the Fedora community after the party. Check out the Fedora Introductions Matrix room to get started. Next slide. So just a few routine announcements and things to, bad day to have a cough, but a few important things that we just want to start with before we get into the party. Next slide. So this just goes without saying, first and foremost, Fedora is a safe, welcoming, and inclusive space for everyone in our community. Our code of conduct is our shared commitment to how we treat each other with respect and empathy. So a quick reminder that this policy applies right here, right now in our virtual release party space as well. It also applies to all official Fedora spaces, whether we're chatting on Matrix, collaborating on tickets, or meeting up in person. You can scan the QR code or visit the link to review the code of conduct. And if you need any help or support today, reach out to any of the event moderators in the chat. Next slide. Yeah, I think people are going to be ready for this one. I know some of you have been waiting for this. So you can scan this QR code on the screen right now to claim your official release party attendee badge. And if you're new to the community, Fedora Badges is this really fun and gamified way of how we recognize participation and contributions in Fedora. You can earn these digital badges for all sorts of activities, from writing code, building packages, testing pending software updates, creating designs, attending events, and even being recognized by other Fedora peers for being helpful. So make sure to grab your limited edition release party badge before the event wraps up today, so you have proof that you were here and you celebrated with us. The badge will expire at midnight UTC, so that's your last chance to grab the badge before it's gone forever. Next slide. We also have an incredible lineup of content and demos prepared for all of you today. And if you want to see what's coming up next throughout the day, check out I think this link is pinned in the Matrix room. If it's not, I'll ask one of our friendly moderators to go ahead and pin the link to the wiki page. But you can find the whole schedule for the day on the Fedora wiki, including what topics are being presented and exactly when your favorite speakers are hitting the virtual stage. So feel free to drop in and out as your day allows, but stick around if you can, because we've got a lot of great stuff to share. Next slide. So our events would be nothing if it was not without the people who put in the time to make them possible. This is one of my favorite parts of these kind of things, where we get to just let the credit wheel roll. So I just want to give a special thanks to all of these amazing contributors who all played a role in delivering today's content and programming. A lot of work goes behind the scene to make this all possible. On the content and promotion, a big thanks to our Fedora magazine editors, Joseph Gayoso from the marketing team and Robert Wright. On the event production side, a kudos to Neil. With design and badges, Emma Kidney and Robert Wright. And on the speaker management side, Cornelius and Yona. Next slide. I also want to give a shout out for our chat moderators. We have various members of the Matrix working group who are in the chat, as well as some of various community members and folks that you've probably seen around in other Fedora channels. So again, if you also need any help, these are some of the people that you can ping in the chat to get some help if you need it. Next slide. Also, a massive heartfelt thank you to all of our speakers today. The party simply doesn't happen without our speakers volunteering their time and their expertise. Our speakers are the voices behind all of our collective hard work over the last 6 months that we've been doing and sharing that out with the rest of the world. So we know exactly how much behind the scenes effort goes into preparing these talks. And on behalf of the community, we see you and we're deeply grateful for your dedication. Next slide. And if being a party planner for Fedora sounds like your kind of open source contribution, then come and help us get started for next time. October is not that far away. You know, we've been doing this for 23 years, every 6 months. It's going to come up pretty quick. So there's all kinds of things you can help with on the release party. As you saw on the previous slides, there's a few main ways to contribute and types of work. So if any of those were interesting to you, let's get in touch. Our planning happens on a 4Geo issue tracker, which is our new project-wide Git Forge. This QR code will take you to the planning issue that already exists for the Fedora Linux 45 release party. So if you want to be a part of that, leave a comment on the issue and tell us which of the volunteer areas is interesting to you and what you'd like to help with. Next slide. So actually, Jeff, I think I'll hand this one over to you just to run through some announcements for the day.
Great, thanks. So first things first, we have a new survey up about Fedora Verified. So we're exploring a new contributor status to better recognize and support and celebrate people who are building this project. Because this project is more than just code. We know that building an operating system takes way more than just packaging RPMs. It takes design, documentation, community operations, and translation at a minimum. We want to model that accurately and recognize all the hard work that people are doing. So as a starting point, we've proposed a concrete baseline to get the conversation started, such as being in 3 fast groups or holding 10 badges or having an account for at least 6 months. We need your input, but we also know a rigid one-size-fits-all metric doesn't work for our diverse global community, and we want to make sure that this feels right to you. So we're asking you to take the survey. Please scan the QR code on the screen and click the Lime survey link in the matrix tag. Take a few minutes to give us your feedback so we can build a membership model that truly reflects the reality of our contributors. I also want to note that we have another round of elections coming up Thursday, May 7th. Oh, what was that? I can't see the sign, Justin.
It's just a ballot envelope because it's voting time. It's election time in the real world and in Fedora.
Yeah. So nominations are open on May 7th, and we're holding elections for Fedora Council, FESCO, Mindshare Committee, and the Apple Steering Committee. If you've ever thought about stepping up for a leadership role, this is the time to start preparing and put your hat in the ring for it, so you can nominate and be part of the process. We also want to make sure you don't forget that we have a Flock conference coming up. So if you want to attend, either in person or virtually, make sure you register and you can be a part of that contributor experience. We will be web streaming some of the sessions, not the workshops, but a good chunk of the session. So if you can't attend in person, we do want you to participate and watch. Registration is open right now, so you can scan the code and secure your spot. Important note, registration is 100% free, but it is required. We need you to register so that we can actually order your meals if you're coming, and of course, make sure that we have exclusive conference swag for you. And please stay tuned for additional volunteer opportunities. The conference, like the project, is mostly volunteer run, and there are opportunities for you to help out if you're going to be in attendance or even virtually by helping out moderating some of the channels where people will be discussing the content. One last final shout out. We have a long-time trusted partner for producing high-quality Fedora apparel and clothing. Hello Tux is a small business in Hungary dedicated to producing Linux-branded apparel for all of your favorite distros and upstream projects. We've partnered with them to provide high-quality embroidered Fedora t-shirts, polo shirts, sweatshirts, and more. You can check out their website at the QR code. And listen carefully to this insider tip. Use the coupon code Fedoras for a 5% discount on any Fedora item. Back to you, Justin.
Oh, unmute. All right. So just a personal note at the end of our opening remarks, I always like to take a moment here to say, honestly, what an absolute privilege it is to work alongside this community. Y'all are some of the most passionate, smart, and genuinely kind people that I know in the open source world. And I'm not just saying that. I've been around this community for 11 years, and it's honestly the people in our project and community that's kept me around as long as I've been here. It really blows my mind when I step back and think about that we've been successfully releasing a new cutting-edge operating system every 6 months since 2003. We're not going to count Fedora 21. So, that's really a monumental, world-class achievement. And I really hope that all of our contributors feel proud about this as we continue to do what we've been doing for every 6 months for almost since 2003. So a release of this magnitude doesn't just happen. It takes packagers, it takes change owners, it takes designers, it takes documentation writers, it takes community organizers, it takes event owners, it takes translators, and folks who patiently spend their time helping out with user Q&A and troubleshooting on forums and chats. Fedora thrives because of our collective effort, and every single individual action you take, no matter how small it might seem in the moment, all of that comes together to make this community whole. So thank you all for putting in your time and energy for making Fedora Linux 44 the best one yet. Now, Jeff, I think it's time to start the party officially. And actually, I think you will be opening up for us with the FPL opening remarks. Actually, we're pretty much right on time, like almost on the dot.
Yep.
So,
Give me a minute to rotate the screen share, and I'll be back and ready to go with my FPL remarks in just 1 minute. Tap dance, Justin.
all right. I'm just peeking in the chat. The discount code for Hello Tux is Fedora 5.
Oh, Fedora 5. My eyes.
That 5 and the S, they are kind of similar, aren't they? So I'm seeing people, hey, while we're waiting here just for a second, just drop an emoji flag in the chat for what country you're connecting from today. I think I see Kenya. I've seen Hungary. Let's see, like drop a flag emoji in the chat. I wanted to see how spread out globally are we right now in the Matrix chat. Also, thanks to I just noticed all the pinned messages. Thank you to our chat moderators for helping keep the chat up to date with what we're talking about here on the screen too.
Okay, I think I have things close.
I love just in the first minute that people start posting the flags. Like, I haven't seen the single flag twice. Okay, I think Brazil. Now I see Brazil multiple times, but I don't think no, yeah, these are all pretty unique flags. That's really cool. A lot of Europeans, a few folks in South America and LATAM. I think I see Vietnam, Brazil. Maybe this is Latvia. This is Panama, UK, Albania, Hungary, Italy, Finland, Scotland, USA, Poland, Sweden, Spain, the Philippines, I think.
I'm waiting for one Antarctic flag to show up in there.
Sorry, Jeff. I think that's you. All right. Well, I
think we're ready.
I just do that as a little time pass. It's also really cool to see just how globally spread out our whole community.
Yeah, it is.
All right, Jeff. Well, if you are ready, I will bring your slide deck up to the stage. I'll drop off and pass it over to you.
Thanks a lot, Justin. So, hello, everybody. As I said in the opening remarks, I am Jeff, and I'm the new FPL on the job for about 9 months. And I just want to take a moment at the top of the release party and provide y'all with some updates from my world. What exactly have I been doing during this release? And that's a very good question. And I might have some good answers. Maybe. So first, though, I want to make the formal announcement. Fedora Linux 44 is a go as of yesterday's Go No Go meeting and will be released on Tuesday, April 28th. If you have a 30-second dance party button, this is your moment to press it. This is we're just a little later than normal because we have a few blocker bugs that needed to be dealt with, so we couldn't use the early release date, but we got there, and it will be released on Tuesday. I want to thank everyone who contributed to this release. The continued commitment from all of y'all to do the integration work that makes it possible to pull such high quality releases together every 6 months really does astound me, especially these last couple of releases where I've been around to potentially gum up the works. Speaking of, let's talk about what I've actually been doing this release. Other than failing to do part of Aoife's job as release wrangler and help with the schedule. So what's been happening in the world of the FPL is mostly meetings, a lot of meetings about strategic direction for the project. There are 4 big things I want to highlight here that I want contributors to know about. As foretold in ages past, the migration to Forge has actually begun. The Fedora Forge is an open source, modern Git Forge implementation that Fedora Project is adopting. The Forge is based on the Forgeo codebase and the open source codebase that powers the Codeberg Forge service that is publicly available. It will be replacing the infrastructure that has been based on the Pagure codebase that we've been using for a few years. In the near term, the Forge migration is the highest priority that I am nudging as part of my role as FPL as a member of the Red Hat Community Linux engineering team. This migration is critical to the future of the project and is part of modernizing its contributor experience. There is a tentative goal to disable Pagure I/O by Flock 2026. Yes, there is work to be done to bring Forge up to feature parity with Pagure, but this is an active enhancement work that is going on as part of the upstream engagement with the Forgeo developers. If you're a contributor or a team and you haven't migrated your Fedora relevant work yet, now is the time to start the migration process. Also important to note that the package sources repository will be migrated to its own Forge instance as part of the overall migration, which should be happening later this year. We're going to be discussing that at Flock as the next step in the migration. I also want to talk about the Fedora Council Strategic Summit that happened in February and some of the bigger topics that we discussed beyond status reporting of the initiatives. And I believe the initiatives themselves, some of them will be part of today's release party content, so I don't want to steal their thunder. Most of the topics covered this time in the Strategic Summit were elements of existing friction points in the community that I thought that the council could provide some input from a strategic standpoint. Fedora is mostly a duocracy, but council has a role to play in helping to set strategic direction for the project. The Forge is the obvious first discussion. Like I said, Forge is super important strategically as it's going to be the central point for how we do contributor workflows moving forward for probably the next decade. Council needs to have a hand in setting Forge usage policy for the project. To that extent, Council actually has a draft policy, and you should expect to see the policy draft come up for community discussion, hopefully later today. So watch the discussion forums for that. Council also talked about the existing ongoing community effort to open up a way for Red Hat external community to financially resource community interest. I look at this as growing the pie of available resources. I personally would love to have a way to donate small personal money and know that I was supporting a shared community interest. In the years that I was actually away from the project and I wasn't able to be a packager anymore, I would have jumped at the opportunity to grease the wheels in a small way with a donation instead of my blood, sweat, and tears as a packager. But we have to be careful here because there are some pitfalls around financing. We'll talk about this at Flock, but I want to make everyone aware that this is coming, and Council are committed to figuring out how to do this. We want to start small and build trust in a process. We're probably going to go a little slower than some people want, but we'll get there. Council also spent some time trying to establish the concept of Fedora membership. And as I mentioned in the opening remarks, that survey about verified Fedora is sort of the first step along that discussion path. This is actually a complicated discussion because contribution to the project is a mix of things we can easily measure and things we can't. The survey we pointed to is part of the work, and I want you to take a moment and make sure you do that survey. That's really going to help us figure out the path forward so we can adequately deal with the complicated process of using contribution as part of a governance strategy. We then moved on to questions concerning technical aspects of the project. First, Conflux, which is a piece of open source infrastructure Red Hat is using to build RHEL right now, both containers and RPM packages. And there is some interest already in Fedora to use it for container images, specifically the Bootsy-based outputs, which I believe you'll be hearing about later as part of the Bootsy initiative or the Atomic initiative later today. This is one of those items that straddles the boundaries of both Council and FESCO, and we'll be having more discussions across both groups about how Fedora adopts the capabilities of this technology. I also made sure we talked about Fedora Flatpak and the mission it serves, because there's some friction points inside the community right now, in the contributor base, about how to deal with this technology and how we make use of it in Fedora. I'm personally on a mission to find a mission for the Fedora Flatpaks that makes sense and can put us in a place to help drive the Flatpak technology forward. This technology isn't fully developed, and we need to get it there. We need to be a part of that process with both upstreams and downstreams that are engaging in the technology with us. So that was the Council Summit. But what else have I been doing, right? The wheels of progress are ever turning, and there's other discussions going on that I want y'all to know about. For those who aren't aware of what the CRA is, it's a piece of EU legislation that will start to be enforced later this year. The purpose of the EU's Cyber Resilience Act is to enhance the security of products and digital elements, hardware and software sold in the EU by mandating security by design, creating a unified security framework and improving transparency around security violations reporting. It requires manufacturers to manage vulnerabilities through a product's life cycle and ensure safer, trustworthier products. It has an interesting carve-out specifically for open source projects and introduced the concept of an open source software steward that has less strict obligations than that required of manufacturers. There's been a series of discussions concerning how the Fedora project is going to integrate the role of steward, which Red Hat will be taking on because it's the primary vendor of interest that supports the project right now. This hasn't shown up in council policy yet, but it's coming. And I think the steward role is large enough that we probably need to encode it in some way in the governance structures of this project so that stewards can do their work effectively without disrupting the volunteer experience. This is new, but we need to figure out how to do this. Fedora really needs to be sort of a first-class citizen here and sort of show the way of how the entire ecosystem can integrate best practices around this new role that the EU legislation is defining. I also want to take a moment and talk about a series of discussions I've been having around the idea of having a Fedora innovation lifecycle. I've been having these discussions about the inherent friction between Fedora as a mature project and its core mission to be a place where open source innovation can happen, as expressed in the first foundation and the four foundations of Fedora. Those conversations have convinced me that Fedora is currently experiencing a classic innovator's dilemma. The project has quality, mature outputs and has mature process optimized for the quality needs of that mature output. The ability to release like y'all do stands as evidence that the maturity of the process is working, and the quality of releases stands as evidence that the process does work to create high quality output that users can depend on. That is something that absolutely should be celebrated. However, it creates a bit of a paradox because the mature processes can make it harder to innovate, which is part of the core mission of the project. Innovation is messy, it isn't orderly, and a lot of times innovation just fails or it has low quality while the ideas are maturing. And right now, Fedora doesn't have a place where experimental, innovative things can mature. The process we have now puts an emphasis on quality, and it's great for incremental changes that need to be integrated into the mature output. But I think we need an alternative process for innovative changes that need a space to mature and are allowed to be low quality and honestly a little broken, with the intent to mature those so that they can be integrated down the line. A place where contributors can make incremental, steady progress towards readying a technology or an idea so it can be integrated with minimal risk, and we know it's a sustainable and not a burden to existing contributors. What I'm hoping to do with this is to build a space inside the project where interesting ideas can be put together and matured without overcommitting the project before it's ready. and also making sure that these things don't linger sort of in a state where they're not seeing progress. There's a trade-off here. I'm working towards a policy proposal, and some of y'all have probably seen the initial straw proposal I put up for discussion in March. I want to thank everyone who provided feedback on that. I'm currently actually have a final proposal inside of a council ticket right now, and that should be working its way towards a formal process through normal community processes. So I'm hoping to talk about that more in Flock. So with that, I just want to say I'm going to see a good chunk of y'all at Flock, and I'm hope to talk to a lot of you about these topics, these strategic direction topics, and anything else y'all want to talk about with me as the FPL. And with that, I will give it back to Justin, and we can do some Q&A, I think.
Actually, we are right at time for the talk, but you did have a few questions and comments. Also, I think we might have had one of our busiest release parties on Matrix yet, because there's definitely a little bit of chat lag. We've got like 450 people, I think, last I checked in the room. So I think there's a little bit of performance challenges here, but we'll do our best to keep up with it.
Hey, that's a great problem to have. I love the idea of having too many people, and we're going to have to grow this. That's fantastic. I will catch up on the chat and try to answer questions that are relevant to my talk, and I will let you move on with the next speaker.
All right. So our next one is actually going to be a pre-recorded session. This is going to come from the Packit team. Now let me do a song and dance and hope that technology works the way I hope it's going to work.
Hi, I'm Maya from the Packit team, and you may.
All right, great. I think I got it. So this is, like I said, pre-recorded session from the Packit team. They're going to be talking a little bit on how Packit is taking over Fedora distribution Git, or dist-git CI, what this change means for contributors, and what's next for CI in the Fedora ecosystem. So this is a group effort. This is from František Lachman, Laura. I'm probably not going to try all of the last names, but Laura, Maha, Matija, and Nicola. So I'm going to jump off here, and I'm going to start the pre-recorded talk. Here we go.
Hi, I'm Maya from the Packit team, and you may have met me on chat, on Matrix or Slack. And today I want to celebrate with you the release of the new Packit Fedora dist-git CI that went live just a couple of months ago. Let me explain what Packit Fedora dist-git CI is, especially for those of you, if any, who aren't package maintainers. Packit Fedora CI is the continuous integration system that automatically tests Fedora packages. When maintainers propose changes with a new pull request, for example, Packit automatically triggers builds and run tests, like checking if the package installs correctly, if it passes common linters, or custom checks. Before Packit, Fedora was using two different CI solutions, a Jenkins-based system and Zool. Packit was already helping Fedora in other areas, automating upstream CI for RPM-based systems and syncing release from upstream projects into Fedora. So we wanted to unify the experience, and now Packit covers the entire workflow from the upstream to the downstream. On the 16th of February, Packit Fedora dist-git CI went live as the default for all Fedora packages. Let me show you what all of this meant from the Packit team point of view, with some public data. Here you can see that active projects per week more than doubled, specifically projects which are submitting Koji builds through Packit. The transition point is immediately visible. The impact is even more visible in the next chart. The number of testing farm jobs that Packit handles every week has increased a lot since going live. We saw the difference, and we hope you did as well. This is a community space, so let me take this opportunity to thank you all for your support. It's been 2 months now since the mass onboarding of all packages, and I have to say, everything has gone smoother than we expected. We really believe that this is because of all the support and feedback we received during the early opt-in phases. I also want to give a special thanks to Christian Lee, who contributed a lot of code to Packit dist-git CI. And most importantly, you trusted us with our Packit Fedora CI infrastructure. That's not a small thing, so thank you, and I hope we have made it a bit better. Okay, let me step back and show you what Packit Fedora CI actually looks like in practice. Every single day we create a validation PR on Pagure to make sure Fedora CI is working properly, and you can see its screenshot on the right. It shows exactly what package maintainers see when they open a new pull request. All the package status checks, build results, test outcomes, and direct links to detailed logs. The screenshot at the bottom left shows the Packit dashboard, a centralized view where you can monitor all your Packit jobs. Why did we do it? There are several reasons, but let me focus on the most strategic one. Packit already needs 4JJO support for our release workflow automation. We want also to build upstream CI for 4JJO, just like we already have for GitHub and GitLab today. And then, when Fedora CI moves to 4JJO, that work is almost already done. It should come at virtually no additional cost. Now, a brief explanation on how it works in detail. For every new dist-git PR, Packit automatically runs Koji scratch builds and some testing farm tests. You may be more familiar than me with them. Retriggering is simple. Just comment /packit-ci, something like scratch build or test, to rerun builds or tests. Or you can get specific, using the test name you want to be rerun, or the target, for example, ELN or row height. Configuration, you don't need any actually, unless you want to opt out. And for now, you can opt out only for ELN builds, when, for example, they are really too long. You can find all the docs in our website at packit.dev/fedora-ci. What is coming next? We are exploring better ways for you to customize your testing. In other words, we want to make the entire configuration experience more powerful. For example, having a separate repo for it. Do you want to know what features are we working on, or do you want to request something new? Then go to GitHub, on the Packit namespace, in the Packit service repo, and you can search for issues with the Fedora-CI label or fill in a new one. And now, what about the next steps for the 4JJO integration? We are happy to say that in February we added 4JJO support to Augur, the library Packit uses to talk to Git forges. And for this, we want to thank especially an external contributor, Kate, a Fedora GSOC student. The 4JJO support in Packit builds on top of this. You may wonder what is missing now. Quite a bit, I would say. You can see listed here the epics we are working on. And if you want, you can contribute. We are happy and welcome any support. As last thing, let me say that if you want, you may join us at Flock. We are preparing an open discussion to improve together even further our new Fedora dist-git CI. Bye!
Wonderful. I love when I'm just talking and I'm on mute. It's like we haven't been doing this online stuff for as long as we have. Okay, let's try that one more time. Thank you to our Packit folks for the presentation about the distribution CI. Oh man, now I'm getting all the matrix messages. You're muted, you're muted, you're muted. Okay, all right, okay. So gosh, I got distracted there. So yes, the Packit folks, we have some really cool stuff coming around our CI. Like what I said when I was on mute was I remember when I was making a distribution Git pull request and happened to get the Packit bot reply on my pull request and built some of the changes in my pull request. I was like, oh, this is cool. I didn't have to do anything. It just worked. So really cool stuff that's going on there with the Packit folks. I don't know if we have any of them with us here in the chat right now. I'm just going to take a peek, but I don't see them. So we might not be able to do any live Q&A here during this talk, but as they shared in the recording, you can find the Packit folks in their matrix room. They're super easy to get in touch with, so do keep an eye out if you're interested in this stuff, both as a Fedora packager or even contributing as well. All right, so we're a little bit early, but not too early. We're like 3 minutes till the next talk. So I think we can go ahead and start to get our next speaker up here. So our next speaker is Jens Petersen on adding Nix to Fedora. We did a thing. I already have a hunch that there's a few people who are going to really nerd out about this one because I know it's super novel. I've been in, when I used to run my Linux users group at my university, Nix was always a niche, but the people who used Nix really loved Nix. So anyways, I'm going to bring Jens up here. Let's see. Hey, Jens.
Hi.
Is it a good evening to you? Are you out in Singapore right now?
I'm actually in Europe right now. So
okay.
It's afternoon here.
So not too late for you. I'm glad, because otherwise it would have been a very late night for you, I think, or Singapore.
Right.
All right. Well, are you able to? Do you have any slides, or you need any help to get things pulled up?
Let me get the slides up. Hang on.
All right.
Let's see.
Perfect.
Let's see.
Okay. Here. All right. Looks good on my end. I'm going to go ahead and jump off, and I will pass the stage over to you.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks, Justin. Okay, so let's get going. 1 second. I'll just mute. Yeah. So in the Fedora 44 cycle, we added Nix, the Nix package to Fedora. And yes, this is based on a Fedora change I did together with Sibenu. He's not here with today, but yeah. There are also links to the slides on my Fedora people page. I don't know if you can. Anyway, So first, what is Nix? I hope many of you know Nix because I don't really have time to explain it in much detail, but yeah, just a few like definitions maybe to start. So there's Nix the tool, which is actually what we're talking about today, and there's also Nix packages, which is like a large collection of packages which you can access with the Nix tool. And there's also Nexus operating system, which uses both of these things. But anyway, today we're primarily talking about Nix the tool, but yeah, maybe a little bit about Nix packages. Yeah, so the Nix package is kind of a separate upstream, I guess. So in a sense, Nexus or Nix packages is downstream to Nix, but and yeah, Nix is package manager. It's also kind of a build environment tool for development. You can, I mean, yeah. So the packages are both also available in binary form. In principle, it's a bit more like Gentoo in a sense that everything's like source based, but there are binary caches available which are used by default. So yeah, in practice you don't need to do so much building usually, unless you're doing something unusual. Or it's also a declarative functional programming language. So yeah, you can actually do quite complicated things with Nix. It's pretty powerful. You can also do things like deployments of systems and containers and well, even many things that I don't know. It's quite deep, as Justin was alluding to. And another thing, maybe just to note briefly, that there's sort of the legacy Nix, which uses these kind of Python commands, and then there's a sort of modern Nix, which is funnily enough not enabled by default in upstream, but anyway, I mean, it's enabled in Fedora. So many projects now are using these things called Nix flakes and so on. Yeah, they're normally used with the subcommands. Yeah, anyway, just so like the distinction like between Nix shell, Nix dash shell, and Nix space shell. Anyway, I'm not really going to go and say more about it. So yeah, Nix kind of takes this, sort of works on my machine or builds it on my machine to an extreme that sort of, since everybody has the same, well, obviously not, they don't have the same machine, but you sort of get the idea. You can have identical environments and then basically have completely reproducible build artifacts and so on. So yeah, so it's very easy to move something from one machine to another one and get identical results. And then yeah, there's Nix packages, which is a rather large package collection, which I guess in some sense is the main attraction of Nix. I mean, Nix tool and so on is interesting itself, but this vast collection of packages is sort of maybe one of the sort of magnets, if you like. Yeah, I guess sort of kind of what also drew me to this. Yeah. And then yeah, there's Nixos, which I won't really talk about today. So that's sort of the operating system, Linux-based operating system based. Well, there's also Nix Darwin and so on, so you can also run it elsewhere. But yeah. And then yeah, let's talk more about the Nix tool. So it's a little bit tricky to package actually, in a sense that, well, for multiple reasons. One is that upstream has a bit of a tendency to use slightly esoteric dependencies. Yeah, even like the test suite, we can't run the test suite in Fedora at the moment because we're missing, I forgot which package, but some dependency. And yeah, and so it's a little bit bleeding edge or sometimes using unusual, slightly lesser used libraries. And also it's a C++ code base. One thing good that happened in the recent years was they moved from auto tools to Meson, and that actually helped a lot. I think now it's become rather easier to build and so on, so that's a good thing. It's also a bit difficult to set up manually, and which is probably why many people just use these sort of upstream bootstrap scripts to sort of, basically sort of a curl to shell kind of thing. And also, yeah, you need to set up, well, actually you don't need to, but often, generally you want to set up the Nix daemon, which also sort of runs as a system service and so on, and also the Nix file system and stuff. So yeah, it's a little bit intricate. I mean, obviously it can be done, but it's not it's not trivial, I'd say, in a sense. So having a package also makes this very easy. You can just makes it a lot easier to get started. So for a long time ago, I started a Copra package. But I don't think earlier, even I wasn't the first person to make a Nix Copra actually. But anyway, somehow mine, I don't know. I think I stole from various other Copras to create mine, and but over time it became quite popular, I guess. So yeah, I actually looked up it. The first build I did was in 2016, so it's like 10 years ago. So yeah, it's sort of timely, I guess. So like last year, I think I started thinking maybe it would be better to actually have it as a formal Fedora package. It would sort of make it a bit more robust and more available in the distribution and sort of benefit from the sort of wider infrastructure. So I think I was talking in the develop channel in Matrix, and at first my idea was just to get the package into Fedora, and then of course the one big problem with Nix is that it requires this top level /Nix directory, which was a kind of a blocker in some sense. Such that directory is not really allowed in the FHS standard and so on. So it's been a long-term sticking point. But then Sabenu said, "Why don't we try and get it in? Try to So I'll talk a bit more about that." So anyway, we made this Fedora change, and Sabenu helped review the package, which also improved it quite a bit. And then so Sabenu basically asked Fresco for this exception to allow the /Nix to be used with the Nix package. So it's sort of limited to the Nix package, but which makes it a lot more useful. I mean, even just having the binaries would be a good thing, but having this directory too, which is kind of a game changer in a sense. It makes it a lot more useful to have as a whole sort of holistic package. So this was quite good news. So thanks to Sabenu for getting that done. There's also a few upstream contributions. I'm not going to go into much detail here, but I think one thing was that at that time the Nix package, Nix upstream, still didn't have SO versions of their libraries, for example, and so I got that done. It took a few iterations. At first they were a bit. I think my first attempt wasn't quite right, but anyway, in the end we basically just take the next version as the SO version. So it'll sort of bumps every time. It doesn't really matter because it's not really expected to use the libraries in practice. So it's kind of a minor thing, but it was sort of required to meet the Fedora packaging guidelines. There's also some issues with the man page generation because as such it was sort of somehow it was coupled in with the generation of the manual, the Nix manual, which is also part of the source code, and that's built with MDBook. I don't know if you're familiar with this. It's a Rust tool, but now it's been decoupled, so that's quite nice. So since we still don't have MDBook in Fedora. A little bit about the package structure. So there's the main, in terms of binary packages, there's the main Nix package, and then the most important package is the Nix core package, which sort of contains the sort of the actual Nix binary user bin Nix, and that's then is linked to these libraries. But anyway, and then there's the Nix daemon. Actually, the Nix daemon is just a symbolic link. So all of these packages, the second set of packages here are all no arch packages. And then there's the file system package, which has the /Nix, and then this legacy. I talked about legacy commands earlier. They're all in the legacy package. So you can actually install just the Nix core package, then you only get user bin Nix, and you won't have the legacy packages. So that can still be useful, actually. So anyway, and then there's this Nix system package, which defines more of the Nix hierarchy and also the Nix build user and group, which are used by the daemon. Installation, yeah, just a few words about installation. So I've actually written a very detailed README file. I may not show it to you today, but yeah, it's obviously you can find it on the package page. So one thing you have to decide is whether you want to have the Nix daemon or you just want to do a single user installation. For a single user installation, then you have to take ownership of the /nix directory, or you can sort of go rootless, which is kind of a more pure one, so where you don't actually need /nix, but then you can't have any profiles or installed. I mean, you can't actually have a sort of installed packages, so it's more stateless in that way. It also depends a bit on the environment. So if you're in a container, then you probably can't use the daemon. Yeah, there's also some. Yeah, it's a little bit harder with the image mode to set up the /nix. Okay, let's see. Okay. Another thing I'm experimenting with recently, and I documented in the README file, is this so-called NixGL flake, which allows you to easily run like OpenGL applications and also Vulkan. So the method is quite nice. It actually auto detects your GPU and stuff. So yeah, but you have to do that with sort of the more legacy approach. Again, that's in the README file. And yeah, so I think currently the package is in a pretty good state. We also have gating tests in CI, and yeah, the flakes and Nix command are enabled, and we have latest version in Fedora 44 and 45, and 43 and 42 on slightly older version due to boost dependency. And Apple 10 is in a rather old version, which I'd like to bump if possible, but it needs an update to libgit 2, I think. And we have a matrix channel, so join us there if you're interested in improving the package. Also built up quite good relationship with upstream, so that's working quite well. And what's next? Yeah, the main next thing I want to do, actually I had kind of wanted to do for 44, is to add a bind mount for /nix, which is particularly useful for image mode. Also, there's a new feature in the Nix 234, this so-called Nix namespace wrapper, which in principle allows running the daemon without as a non-system service. So it's like a sort of user daemon. I haven't quite worked out how to do that yet. Also, we could maybe do something to improve the SE Linux handling. There are some issues there, I think. So yeah, that's about it. So yeah, please give it a try. Let us know what works for you. And also, yeah, just to conclude, I mean, I'm not really a Nix fanboy. I just kind of wanted to have this tool available because it's quite powerful, and many upstreams are using it. I still like my RPM packages, and no plans to switch to Nixos or such things. So, okay, I think that's about it. I know there's a couple of minutes for any questions, maybe.
Yeah, thanks, Jens. We have probably just a time to do just the two questions that I saw come up in the chat. One is a first question: will it work well with Fedora Silverblue or the Atomic desktops?
Right. Yeah, that's a good one. It's a little tricky. Yes, no. Silverblue is a bit hard. It really needs. I mean, if you do a custom build of like a sort of custom build of the OS tree, you can add the /nix, but it's better with the image mode, like container-based ones where you can make a custom image with the /nix. But if you just want rootless, then it will. Yeah, you can run it without the /nix. Fine. Yeah.
All right. And then the last question: do Nix packages work alongside RPM packages? I think there was just some confusion on like how the two interact together.
Yes, that's a good question. Yeah, it's interesting. So I mean, the way I'm looking at tool in sort of the Fedora space is more as a kind of a user. So that's the interesting thing with Nix. So you can sort of have system package. In principle, you could have system packages and user packages, but I wouldn't recommend kind of trying to use it as a system package manager in Fedora. So I sort of, in some ways, it's a bit more like pip or cargo in some sense that you can just install in your own home directory of whatever you want. But if you start to kind of conflate the two, I think you might end up in a bad situation. So that's my advice. There's also a home manager, which I haven't played with, but can do more stuff. Yeah. I think you're muted, maybe. Oh, I can't hear you.
I just keep doing this. It's just over and over. I'll just start talking and then I'm just on mute. We do have to wrap up because we are at the end of the time slot. There are some other questions that are coming into the chat. Things like, can Nix be a symlink to /varnix? And then again, it's kind of the same question. How do DNF and Nix differ? If you want to jump in the chat, Jens, if you have some time to look at that, you can answer those questions in the chat. But otherwise, thanks for coming up on stage and giving us the rundown on what you and Zbigniew have been working on with Nix this last week.
Welcome. Thanks for having us. Thank you.
All right. So now let's peek back at the schedule. Next up, we have a talk from Neil Gompa on packagekit with DNF5 and KDE integration. So this one's actually kind of interesting to me, just because if you've been following some of the stuff around DNF5 and unifying various backends around how, I mean, there's probably more to it. I'm not super deep on it, but the thing that was cool to me is like stuff like caches are shared between more things, and packagekit has been in Fedora for a long time and is a part of how you use something like, I think, GNOME software or a lot of the GUI apps. It's pulling in a lot of the software. Someone's probably going to tell me I said something wrong in the chat, but I'm going to let Neil do the talking for me. He has a short pre-recorded talk because I believe he is traveling. Oh, he's actually here on the stream. So I think we'll have an opportunity for questions. Let me go ahead and pull up the video. This should work. The last one worked. So,
hello.
Great. Okay, so I'm going to jump off stage. I'm going to play the recording. And then after that, I'm going to bring Neil up here and we'll have some time for questions and answers. With that, here's the talk, Fedora KDE 44 and packagekit.
Hello, everyone. My name's Neil Gompa. I'm here to talk to you about Fedora KDE 44 and all the new stuff. So, a little bit about who I am. So, I like to call myself an open source advocate. I'm a contributor and package maintainer in Fedora and CentOS. I do a lot of this stuff in a lot of different spaces. You can see the list of SIGs, working groups, and whatever that I'm in Fedora. And you can also see a lot of the stuff I do in CentOS and Alma Linux. I'm also a member of the KDEV and an Xorg Foundation, so I do a lot of stuff in the desktop Linux and graphical space. I'm a co-host of my own podcast, The Pseudo Show, and for my day job, I am a principal consultant. My own company, Velocity Limitless, tries to help people bring and adopt Linux solutions in open source everywhere. Like if you're wanting to do the open source thing, come hit me up. So, but we can't talk about Fedora KDE without talking about the KDE SIG, which is the special interest group that packages and maintains the Qt stack and the KDE software ecosystem for Fedora, as well as the CentOS ecosystem and Red Hat Enterprise Linux, starting with Red Hat Enterprise Linux 8 and onward. We develop and maintain variants of the Fedora media with KDE software on it. We love KDE and Fedora, and KDE loves us. So, let's bring the best of them together. And that's what we do. And we can't talk about KDE without talking about the flagship of the KDE community, which is the KDE Plasma experience. It's a modern, feature-rich desktop and mobile environment for Linux-based operating systems. It's known for its sleek design, customizable interfaces, an extensible set of applications covering your every need. It's all open source. It's all focused on you. It's about making it personal. It's about making it something you want. KDE Plasma is built on top of the KDE frameworks and Qt. So what's new in Fedora KDE 44, right? So the big thing is that now we're releasing with KDE Plasma 6.6. It's the latest version of the KDE Plasma desktop. It builds upon everything we've seen in the previous Fedora releases with KDE Plasma 6 series, which itself builds on top of 10 years of KDE Plasma, with Plasma 5. And KDE Plasma 6.6 is way more personal. Like we've always focused on personality and customization. And with Plasma 6.6, we take a lot more towards it. Like we've added new features around color theming and accents and stuff like that. You can now set the color intensity for window frames. You can adjust how tints work and that sort of thing. And now with all of the stuff, when you get it exactly right, you can now save it as your own global theme that you can then, export and distribute or even deploy at scale or any of those sorts of things. Go wild. Have fun. And of course, we talk about how KDE is supposed to be a more personal desktop, but everyone's different. There's a lot of different needs for different people to be able to make the desktop useful for them. So we've worked really hard in the KDE community to improve the accessibility of the KDE Plasma experiences. So for 6.6, we've done a lot more towards the color blindness stuff, but now we introduced a full grayscale preset. We've also introduced support for slow keys for those with limited motor control. So you can, in addition to like all the mouse keys and all this other and sticky keys and things like that we've had, you now have, where if you can't really move and quickly enough for key combinations, that is now adjustable. This is part of a community-wide initiative to make KDE more useful and more accessible. So, with all of that said, right, we also want to make it more approachable. We want to make it much easier for people to get started and leverage it. So with Plasma 6.6 and Fedora Linux 44, we have an all-new Plasma setup, which gives users a smooth path for getting set up and started with Plasma. This combines with the Plasma Welcome, which we've already had for the last, couple of years or so. Pairing this up with the Plasma Login Manager. So now we have a smooth integrated experience from the point the user powers on the computer and it boots up. So with this also, having this complete experience from beginning to end, Fedora KDE Plasma Desktop Edition is now supported on Fedora Ready for preload. So you'll see soon PC makers may have Fedora KDE now as an option, which is going to be great, right? So, this is all about the front user-facing stuff. There's a little bit of a under-the-covers thing that's been done, too. So we've done a little bit of dandifying of packagekit. So thanks to the Asahi Linux project with Velocity Limitless, which there was some funded work at the end of last year to improve the packagekit and port it to DNF5. So for those of you who don't know, packagekit is the service that provides a cross-platform, not just Linux package managers, but we also have FreeBSD and things like that for package-style software management. So this powers Plasma Discover's RPM package management features, including system upgrades. You'll also see this in other places, like, for example, Cockpit, and in previous releases, you'd have also seen this with GNOME software. If you use Fedora Asahi Remix, you will actually see this with Fedora Asahi Remix 43. They released it ahead of us in Fedora Linux. This is supercharging packagekit with DNF5, which gives us faster, more reliable, and future-forward support for RPM package management for all software centers that use packagekit. The important thing here is that this sets us up also for, as we move into the future using more DNF5 specific features, there isn't a big gaping hole in the user experience where we're having a split brain between the old DNF4 and the new DNF5, because now all the touch points, from the installer with Anaconda to the package kits with the software centers and the command line, and even image builds and stuff like that, they're all using DNF5, so everything is coherent again. So it's fantastic for that particular point of view, right? So how do you get KDE Plasma? Fedora KDE Plasma Edition and is available with the desktop. So you go to kde.fedoraproject.org and you'll get the Fedora KDE Plasma Desktop Edition. We also have a Fedora KDE Plasma Mobile Spin, which you can see here, the URL. And if you are more into the Atomic desktops, again, packagekit doesn't really apply in that sense, but like if you're into the Atomic desktops, we have Fedora Kinoite with both desktop and mobile flavors. Go check it out, kinoite.fedoraproject.org. So we've talked about all the things that are new with this cycle and how you can get these stuff. So what's coming soon? So we've got a bucket list. So because we've got all this stuff done with Fedora KDE, with Plasma Setup and Plasma Login Manager, Fedora KDE is now available through Fedora Ready. So you're going to start seeing some of that stuff trickle through, and maybe soon you will have some interesting options available for computers coming with Fedora that have Fedora KDE instead of just Fedora Workstation as an option. In the future, with future Fedora releases, we're going to start figuring out how to take advantage of DNF5 configuration by moving the repository configuration to user. This allows us to get closer towards a state where, like, if users need to have be able to reset the repository or the package manager settings, it becomes very easy to do it without accidentally damaging or destroying the configuration of the package manager. And there's even more interesting stuff coming soon. If you want to come and join us and help us out, check us out in the Fedora KDE site. We've got a project issue tracker on the Fedora Forge. We have a mailing list and a matrix room. Those are the references right there. So thanks for attending this little talk, and I hope y'all learned something and you're pumped for Fedora Linux 44 and Fedora KDE Plasma Desktop Edition. Bye. You're muted, Justin.
I swear to God, every time. Okay, I was just saying good morning to you, Neil, because I know it's super early for you.
Yeah,
Welcome
I'm
back.
barely awake right now.
You made it. You're here. So I was doing some of the damage control from the dancing hot dog screen share that came up. Oops, I didn't get a chance to curate any questions, but let me just scroll through the chat here and see if any folks, I think the hot dog has totally distracted people a little bit. But do folks have any questions about KDE, packagekit? I mean, definitely, I saw a lot of enthusiasm in the chat for KDE, a lot of KDE love in the release party chat.
Yeah, I'm very excited. This is also, like me personally, this is the first release in a while where I have done a fair bit of work in upstream KDE, like directly. So a lot of the Plasma Login Manager and Plasma Setup and stuff like that. Like I've had a direct hand in developing it, and Fedora is, I think, the first Linux distribution shipping both of them. So like a lot of new ground is being being paved right with what we're doing in Fedora. Nice.
And is it too early to give hints about Fedora Ready and some of our I think there's vendors that might be doing some things to.
Oh man, like I don't want to spoil it too much. Like, but I'll say, like, there's some seriously exciting stuff coming. You'll have to look carefully at the Fedora 44 release articles that go out next Tuesday, because like if you don't catch it, you might miss it. But like I am very pumped. I'm very excited by having all this stuff in place now. Like technically, Fedora KDE was available in Fedora Ready before, but like our integration story wasn't very good, and I wasn't actively pushing it because I wanted it to be better. And so, I've done a lot of work with upstream KDE as well as doing some stuff in Fedora, and like we shuffled out our image building tools work and made the pipelines easier for our friends who deliver hardware with Fedora installed on it, to make it so that like making something that complies with their requirements, with our requirements, all fits together nicely and is easily useful and usable in their own processes. Like there was a lot of background stuff, I think, that's been going on for like a couple of years. And so it's all coming together nicely in a bow. And I'm really, really happy to unveil it like right now. And this gives us like a full year of being able to go and start having those conversations. But Yes, you're right. We're going to have some stuff as soon as like next week. It's great. I'm so pumped.
And I just realized for folks that don't know, Fedora Ready is, let's call it a beta program, but we've been doing it for a while. We have relationships with hardware vendors like Lenovo, Framework, Slimbook, Nova Custom. Recently, we're starting to talk to Star Labs. So this is a program that Fedora helps run to basically recognize vendors who do imaging like preset, or well, it's not only preloads. A lot of them are OEM preloads where you buy the laptop and Fedora's already on it.
But it's also ones where we recognize vendors support it when you install it yourself.
Yeah.
Like if you look, I think a good example of this is the Lenovo list. There are nowhere near as many laptops with Fedora pre-installed as there are listed as Fedora supported by vendor, which is actually awesome. Like they went and looked at the backlist and added a whole bunch of models that they said, hey, if you've got problems with Fedora on it, like still come talk to us and we will help you. And that's great.
Yeah, I love to see that with our vendors. Well, we do have to wrap up and go to the next talk, but thanks so much, Neil, for giving us the rundown on all the things new with KDE and a little peek into the packagekit changes this release. And we'll see you around the rest of the release and probably all the other places in Fedora.
Yep, sure. Thanks.
Thanks for being on, Neil. See you next time. All right. So now we have our next speaker talking about the Fedora Server Edition. We have Peter Boy, who's going to be presenting on the Server Working Group's initiative to create a dedicated home server spin, driven by community feedback, showing that many Fedora server users run it as a home lab or a personal server. So Peter, let me bring you on up to the stage.
Oh, yes. Hello. I see myself at least.
I can see and hear you fine. And then let's bring your presentation up here. So we're a minute past time, but that's not too bad. Let's go ahead and jump off stage, and I'll turn it over to you for Fedora Server Update.
Okay, thank you. Well, you already know I'm Peter Boy, or known as P-Boy in our diverse channels, and I'm member of the Fedora Server Edition working group. It may be a little bit strange to several people to hear about a home server spin-off. So the question is, why a home server spin-off? Well, the reason is, last year we made a user survey that revealed that the majority of the respondents use Fedora Server in a domestic environment. The number was about 85%. That doesn't mean Fedora Server is mainly used in a domestic environment. It was a multi-choice question. So we have 85% domestic usage or use, but also we have about 45 professional use and about 9% enterprise content, enterprise environment. So just to avoid a misunderstanding. Unfortunately, it is not possible to determine more precise the usage profile in domestic environments, but it is quite clear that there is a mix of purely private home server use and working from home use. So some of the domestic usage may be professional as well. It's hard to know. Nevertheless, this high proportion of domestic use was a surprise to us. We were not aware of it. And well, it's a huge number. And so we decided to honor this by a special spin-off for this use case, yes, intended to provide better and more tailored support for it. Well, in various discussions on mailing lists or forums, we have noticed that Fedorians looking to install a Fedora server at home were somewhat at a loss due to the command interface and the lack of guidance within the interface, which they were seeing in their graphical desktop interfaces. And so our first goal is to better support these folks which have difficult to bring it up and running. And of course, we hope or we expect maybe we attract new users as well. And given this large user base, we want to try using a well-established development model, but rarely employed indeed. It is a participatory software development model. The defining feature of this model is an active involvement of users from the very beginning as co-designers who contribute ideas, suggestions, and also possible solutions, and specifically to create an active community around the product, or in this case around the server, which supports ongoing development and optimization, and specifically established an agile impact process from the user side to the developers. And I think we hope we can create another opportunity with low entry barriers for contributing to Fedora. Well, what do we want to achieve? Well, we are Fedora. So we don't want to release just another boring device, but something dedicated and special. And these are the list of ideas we currently pursue. Lower power consumptions, nevertheless high quality, even as well in a home context, easy installation, easy maintenance. And specifically, we want to provide a replacement for those widely used commercial NAS devices with their heavyweight and inflexible web devices. You know, if you know some of those devices, you know they use their own file structure, not compatible or not compatible with Linux systems layout, and the performance is sometimes not very great because if the processor power is limited, you have a lot of wait time before the display. But the challenge, of course, is can Fedora tools, specifically Cockpit and Ansible, could they provide and offer a similar easy-to-use administration as these NAS boxes do already? That's a challenge. I don't use we can fully get it up, but maybe we can come close. That's at least the goal we are pursuing. And last but not least, we want to contribute to empowerment and enablement of digital sovereignty. Oh, it's a difficult word. As part of these, so nobody has to be, or not every user has to become a nerd, but everyone should have some control and some knowledge about the internal working of its digital device, so it can control what is going on. Well, it's a goal. The question is, what does it, oh, what I went, sorry. What does it mean in technical details? One important criterium is low power consumption. I have to look at the clock. We want to get high quality software, which is completely based on Fedora maintained packages, built reproducible as possible, and undergoing the complete Fedora QA process and security requirements. No compromise on this topic. Of course, we want easy installation and maintenance, and must be and should be noticeable easier as the current Fedora edition is, which doesn't address the home user specifically, but the professional. Wait a moment, yes, the problem here with the, so. That's it. Low power consumption leads us to the ARM devices and RISC-V boards. Affordability as well, although the last issue is questionable, some are arguing a full ARM-based or SPC is as pricey as a mini Intel mini computer. And we need minimal installation and configuration efforts. That comes down to provide bootable system images, which may just be copied to the device. And we want to have a typical set of software pre-installed and pre-configured, whatever typical means. That's a topic which has to be determined yet. And well, the software is initially dormant and can be easily activated on demand. And the relationship between Fedora and ARM boards is a little bit complicated. There are a lot of barriers, and many functions of SBC boards doesn't work fine with Fedora. So we have developed a list of reference models where we know they do work, some kind recommended by Fedora Server Edition. These devices, we have made a catalog system and have developed some criteria to evaluate each board. And we want to have a fine list of boards which we can support without any issues. This list is part of our server documentation, but unfortunately, it didn't make the migration from Packit to the Forge. So that is our current list of boards you would like to specifically provide for home server spin-off. What about software equipment? The general idea is to pre-install typical applications and pre-configure them so easily to be adjusted. But we might have to differentiate between two use cases, a simple or purely home server usage and a mixed usage of working from home and home lab usage. And that's the current list of initial software portfolio. Again, it is under discussion. Nothing is decided yet, but that's the current list we want to provide on the initial devices. Again, we are in the early stage of working. Nothing is fixed yet. Everything is work in progress. So we will start a thread on discussion where we may or hopefully can discuss all these topics. And we aim to have a first alpha image ready on Flock. And on Flock, we have a workshop scheduled where we will discuss and work about it. So everyone who is interested, come to Flock, join to Flock. Let's meet at Flock 2026. That's it. Thank you for your patience, and I hope we see us at Flock.
All right. Thanks, Peter, for the presentation. Let's see. I was tending to some of the stream, so I wasn't able to keep up with questions in the chat, but let me just scroll through here and see if we have any. We've got like 2 or 3 minutes. Definitely seeing a lot of love and interest in the server edition. My matrix window, when I have my video on, I've found that like my laptop just starts to so I'm like trying to scroll through the matrix window now, and it's being very difficult. But you definitely have some other people who are some home labbers and using Fedora Server for that use case. So you've got some fans in the chat. Well, I think what we can go ahead and bring the next speaker on up. I just want to see. Yeah, okay. I might have missed a question with this matrix lag. I hope not. But thank you, Peter, for the presentation and giving us the update on all things Fedora Server from this last release. And we'll see you around in the Fedora various channels, documentation, server, and all of them.
There are a lot of channels possible, yes.
Thanks for today. Take
You're
care.
welcome.
All right. So now looking at the schedule, Oh, actually, it's a break. Huh. So we actually have a 30-minute break for a little bit. So we'll be back. We're going to take a 30-minute pause. I'll put up a little screen holder here on the live stream, but we will have our last 3 talks for the day when we come back from the break. We're going to hear the Fedora Docs 2025 Community Initiative from Petr Bokac and Peter Boy, talking a little bit more on what's been going on in the Fedora documentation team. You're going to hear about what's new and what's next for the Fedora Atomic desktops from Timothy Ravier. And then you'll hear from me a little bit on what's coming at this next edition of Flock to Fedora conference this June in Prague in the Czech Republic. So with that, folks, take that coffee break, meet with your boss, pump out that pull request. You do what you need to do for 30 minutes. We'll be back with more scheduled programming in a little bit. Thanks for tuning in, and see you in a little bit. right. Let me get us all set back up here. I hope everyone had a nice break. Okay. Okay, so while we're waiting to get started, Timothy, let me see if I can bring you on up here and just make sure that you are all. Oh, Timothy's not here actually. Okay, I was wrong. It wasn't. I have the schedule backwards. It's not Timothy with Atomic Desktops first. It's actually going to be Fedora Docs. So let me bring our presenters, Petter and Peter, up here, and we'll just do a quick audio sound check. Make sure that we're all good. So here comes Petter.
Wait a moment.
Right, well, 1, 2, 3, testing. Can you hear me?
All right, yeah, I can hear. Oops, my end is a little slow. I can hear and see both of you. Hello.
Hello.
Welcome back.
Hello.
Peter, and welcome, Petter. So I think, is this the right screen?
I have a screen share up, if you can see that in the green room.
Yes, I see yours. Let me put that up. There we go. All right, so we are 1 minute to start. So you know what? I think we can go ahead and get into it. Peter, well, quick intro for our audience. This is going to be a little bit on the Fedora Docs 2025 Community Initiative. So you're going to hear about what's been going on in the Fedora Docs team this last few months, or almost like 8 months to a year, I guess. And there's also a council-approved initiative that's helping bootstrap and help the Docs team kind of focus on community building and organizing some structure up. Petter and Peter will tell you more all about it. But with that, I'll go ahead and turn it over to both of you to give an update on the Docs team and the initiative. Over to you.
Right, thanks, Justin. So, hi everyone. I hope you've been enjoying the release party so far. There's two of us presenting, but I'm actually going to run through the entire presentation because we only have 15 minutes and it's going to be simpler this way. So, yeah, this is going to be an update on the Fedora Docs initiative, which we started officially last November. So we're about halfway through, and it's built on a talk that we gave last vlog in last June about essentially flattening the roller coaster. So if you remember that, we wanted to, the main issue that we want to fix in Fedora Docs is basically that as there are huge peaks and huge lows in participation, and it's been causing trouble for years. Yeah, if you want to read more about the initiative, there's a wiki page that goes into excruciating detail about it. So go ahead and look at that. So here's what we've been doing so far over the last 6 or so months. Our main focus was for geo migration. We are not completely finished, and looking at the site-wide config for the entire docs project, we're 56% finished, which doesn't sound all that great. However, among the repos that have been migrated, all of the, let's say, high traffic ones that actually see a lot of activity have been moved for months, which is awesome. The ones that remain, 7 of them are on GitHub, and those are mostly there for a reason. basically you've got some teams or 6 that have all of their sources on GitHub as well. So I don't expect them to want to migrate. Of course, if they do want to do that, they're always welcome to do so. But I think they will want to stay there. So the rest of them, of these repos, are still on Pagure or on GitLab. But yeah, mostly low traffic stuff. Some stuff that actually shouldn't even be published anymore at all, like Fedora modularity, which was, let's say, cancelled, and that sort of stuff. We don't have this yet, but we would like to have a second archive organization in ForgeGeo, so that repositories that aren't active but contain content that we might want to revisit later will continue to be available, and they're not going to, go away into the night with the shutdown of Pagure. Yeah, we also we didn't have this before, which was kind of a problem. We now have a repository that's specifically an issue tracker for issues which aren't tied to a specific documentation repository, but it's more of a meta thing, right? Tickets that are, of course, important, but aren't tied to specific content. So if you have some sort of an issue with docs in general, you can now go to docs/tickets and open an issue there. It's ever since we set this up, it's been one of the highest traffic repositories in all of Fedora docs. And yeah, since we now have everything in ForgeGeo and most of the repositories that we publish on docs.fedoraproject.org are in the same ForgeGeo organization in docs, that allows us to do really nice stuff that we couldn't previously in Pagure because the feature was simply missing. Like, create project boards for the entire organization instead of a single repo, so we can see stuff that we might want to highlight and, for example, discuss at a meeting or somewhere, all in one place, which is absolutely awesome. Other than that, we have also been working hard on content consolidation and improvement, that kind of stuff. One major area of focus is QuickDocs. We have some big plans for that, which I'll also mention a little bit later. But so far, we've been fixing bugs, expanding content, that kind of stuff. Great stuff. One of the Fedora docs people did a deep analysis of the old system administrator's guide, which the system guide had some issues. It was originally based on the sysadmin guide for Red Hat Enterprise Linux 6, I believe, and later 7, which means the target audience was basically enterprise admins, and it was written in that way. And it's written as like a book, not as a online documentation. So we have an analysis of that, and the analysis basically tells us what bits we can keep and what we should just get rid of. And also another problem of this guide in particular is that it was very outdated. Some parts are still fine. So yeah, the analysis tells us that we haven't done any or a lot of well, we haven't actioned this very much so far, but it's something that we definitely want to get back to. Yeah, we also recently got rid of some old documentation, which includes the old sysadmin guide. We still have the sources in the source repositories, of course. We didn't just check that. But since a lot of this documentation was really old, and I'm mostly talking about the installation guide and this is admin guide here, and one of them was last updated for Fedora 40, I believe, and the other one was last updated for Fedora 36. So they haven't been touched in years, but they kept showing up in search results on all search engines. It kept confusing people. So for that reason, we decided to temporarily get rid of those. Also, fun fact, a former Fedora Linux contributor had a full version of the docs site from the year 2014, so 12 years old at this point, on his private fedorapeople.org space, which also kept showing up in search results and massively confusing people because really this stuff was absolutely ancient. So, and it's been a problem that kept popping up for several years. And when somebody came to our chat and asked about it, I always explained to them what was going on. And then I sort of forgot to deal with it. So that's finally been dealt with. Thank you, Jeff Fern, for being nice and taking it out. And yeah. Yeah, here's a link to the tickets repo, by the way. I'm not sure why I'm talking about it twice, but here you go. It's a really good improvement. And finally, a massive improvement to docs usability, especially for completely new people. We have a Fedora Beginner's Guide, which the target audience for this are people who are fed up with Microsoft's crap, which is more and more people recently, as I've been hearing, and they want to switch to something else, but they have absolutely no idea. They don't know the first thing about Fedora or Linux in general, right? So this guide explains completely basic concepts like what's a package repository and how do I get on the internet and that kind of stuff. So yeah, this is a completely new area of documentation that we have. It's now linked from the front page all the way up high. And what I especially like about this is that it's a completely community-driven initiative, right? So this wasn't something that me or Peter came up with and told somebody to write.
Okay.
Some of our new team members just came up with the idea and then executed it, and it's really good. Yeah, and we in fact have a whole bunch of new community members. We also have a formal membership application process now, so anybody who's been contributing to Fedora docs and wants to make it official, they can open a ticket in the tickets repo, and after a short waiting period and some voting from existing members, they're accepted. So yeah, by the way, when I'm talking about members, I don't mean just people who occasionally contribute, but those are our people who want to contribute long term, right? So 6 new people plus 1 pending is incredibly good. We also have a separate group for quick docs, which yeah, we are gonna have to actually tell people about this, but we have it, and we're gonna do things with it. And we established a regular meeting cadence every other Tuesday on Matrix. Come say hi. And what are we planning to do next? So obviously the migration needs to finish, especially since Pagure is actually getting shut down by Flock, but that should be perfectly fine. The migration script from Pagure and from GitLab, I'm actually highly impressed with it. There have been some bugs, of course, but now it's just awesome. We'll continue to focus on quick docs and not just further improving the content. But also we have this idea that, the issue with QuickDocs is that it's a huge pile of different documents, and it's getting really difficult to actually navigate using the table of contents. So instead, and if you use those, you may have noticed that some of them already have tags on the right side. So we would like to put tags on all of them and establish basically a system that presents them mostly using those tags. We want to improve the release notes process, because the current one is just, that would be for a longer discussion. And we would like to revamp the front page. For the front page, there aren't going to be any huge changes. I'm mostly talking about the contents and the structure navigation. Yeah, and we are currently working on revamping our contributor documentation, which is it has a bunch of references to old Git forges, and it's not really ideal. Which, since we have a bunch of new members, some of which are like completely new, it's an excellent time to do it, because they're actually using the old contributor docs right now, and they are so it's all fresh in their minds, and this is the easiest time to relay to somebody else who might be new and needing to use those. And me and Peter Boy will be at Flock, and we hope to see some of you as well. We are going to be doing a 1-hour talk, which is going to be similar to this one, except I only have 15 minutes for this one. So at Flock, we will be able to give you a lot more information and maybe even take some questions. And we will have a discussion, a BOF, Burst for Fedora thing. If you want to get involved, report issues for us. Every page in Fedora Docs, by the way, has these three buttons in the top right corner that allow you to go directly to the issue tracker for that particular page, or see the commit history, or make an edit. QuickDocs especially has a bunch of issues that could use some help. And yeah, if there's somebody in here who is proficient in CSS especially, and HTML, and would be willing to take a look at the UI bundle for docs in general in order to implement the tag-based navigation for QuickDocs, that would be awesome. And please ping me on Matrix later, or come to the Fedora documentation room and come say hi. And it would be really awesome, and we would definitely appreciate it. But yeah, at all times, we're also looking for more content writers. And I think my time is up. So thank you all very much, and I'll see you around.
Awesome. Thank you, Petter and Peter, for the docs update. And I was just looking through the chat. My Matrix lag is also making it a little bit hard for me to keep up. But I was looking through the chat, and there's a lot of love for the docs team. There's a lot of folks that have been hanging out in the docs team room on Matrix who are giving some shout outs. Big kudos for both of you, actually. I'm seeing quite a bit in the chat here for all the helpful onboarding for some of our new folks who have been coming into the team. So with that, thank you, Petter and Peter. We don't have any time for questions, so we'll have to move on to the next session. But we will see you both around in the Fedora community. Thanks for your time for the release party today.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
All right. So our next speaker, this is our second to last talk for the day. We're going to have Timothy Ravier come up to talk about what's new and what's next for the Fedora Atomic desktops. So you're going to hear a little bit about what's new for all of the Atomic desktop family, from Silverblue, Kinoite, Sway Atomic, Budgie Atomic, Cosmic Atomic, and you'll hear a little bit more about changes that have been done for each variant. So with that, I'm going to bring you on up here, Timothy. Hello.
Hello. Hello, good afternoon. How's the audio?
You sound great to me.
Okay, this is great, man. Let's give it a try.
All right.
Okay, let me switch back to the presentation. How's the presentation? Looking good?
Looks good to me. I'm going to go ahead and
Perfect.
jump off and hand the stage over to you. It's all yours.
All right, great. Thank you very much. Hey, everyone. So we're going to take a look at what's new in this Fedora 44 release for the Atomic Desktop. And the first thing is we've completed the move to the new Forge. So we're now on the new Forge. Say goodbye to GitLab, say goodbye to Packit almost. We still have a little bit of success there, but hopefully in the few upcoming weeks, we'll get that out of the way. And one of the nice things that we did alongside that is that we unified the documentation. So now you don't have one documentation per variant, per Atomic Desktop. You have a single one, and you only need to translate it once, which was a little bit painful before because we had 4 or 5 to translate. So unfortunately, we couldn't carry the translation from the previous one, so you will have to retranslate it again. But hopefully, it's the last time you have to retranslate everything. And so, yeah, the new Forge is doing wonders. All right, so what actually changed in the Atomic Desktop? The first thing I want to highlight is we removed the Fuse version 2 libraries. It's like, it needs to be highlighted because app images rely on those libraries. Some app images, the old ones, and it's somewhat difficult to figure out which one exactly relies on it. So you'll have to give it a try and try the Flatpaks again, see if they work, and hopefully report issue upstream. A side effect of this change as well is that it removed the backends, the older backends for Plasma vaults on Kinoite. So if you have data that is stored in the vaults, make sure to migrate those data before you update to the new version. If you forgot, it's okay. You can always layer the package, migrate, and then clean your system back up. All right, the second thing that needs to be highlighted, it's the removal of the old PTLA portkit rules. So it's very unlikely you were using those, but in the case that you were, you need to do something. You need to take an action and convert them to the new rules. Otherwise, it may or may not be a security issue. It's up to you to figure that out, unfortunately. All right, so that's it with the removal. So now let's look at like what actually do we get in there. So we are very fortunate to get all the latest releases in each of the variants. GNOME 50 in Silverblue, 6.6 in Kinoite. Sway Atomic stays on 1.11 right now. 12 is still in RC. Budgie got a new release with Wayland support, and Cosmic is finally marked as stable. It's certainly not complete, but it's stable. So it's a good way to start here. And so on top of that, I want to do one highlight for Kinoite, which got 2 big change this session, so which are shared with the KDE, Fedora KDE desktop edition. So we switched to the login manager. We said goodbye to SDDM, and we should improve the experience on the system. And now we also use the Plasma setup for installations, and that's a huge plus. You only have to configure the actual users and the info when you start the computer and not when you install it. It's going to be great. All right. So along that, we have a community. We have lots of friends all over the place. We are building multiple variants of the Atomic desktops in Fedora, but we have all the people working on derivatives of those Atomic desktops. And so one of the biggest community here is Universal Blue and Basite, which are consuming, which are basing their images on top of what we do. And so expect announcement from them around the time of the release because they've been preparing the updates as well. I also want to highlight one, not newcomer, but something I hadn't really checked out before and have recently is Secure Blue, which is a very interesting project if you're focusing on security and how to do things with the Atomic desktops. It has a very interesting take on that. Okay, so that's for what we have in this release. Now let's take a look at like what's coming next. So what's next here? The first thing is we will keep maintaining what we have. We have to maintain the OS3 variants, the current systems that we have, and so where we have new installer ISOs that are going to be built by Image Builder that are ready already for testing in 45. So this landed in Rawhide, ready for testing. You can give it a try. And hopefully that will make it much easier to build installer ISOs for the Advent desktops. Before it was a collection of Lorax scripts. It was not super friendly. So now we have this, and it's much better. And we have two main bugs I want to highlight here. They're not like big major thing. They're not going to break your computer. They don't break the experience, but they are like paper cuts that make things a little bit painful sometimes. And so these two things I want to highlight because I both want to try and work on them this cycle. And at the same time, I think they are good way to get started contributing to the project. So the first one is the moving away from NSS files. We want to try and stop using this piece of technology in our images, and it's a good way to start. There's some easy part to do, some more difficult part, but essentially it's a really good way to start and jump into the project. The second one is fixing root mount options. It's like when you install a system right now, it's not using BTRFS ZSTD compression. Unfortunately, by default, you have to do a manual fix to get that. And so fixing this bug would re-enable it for everybody, essentially. So that's the main two things. But now, as you might have followed, we are in some kind of like some sort of transition phase where we're moving from the OS3 variants that we have right now into the world of bootable containers and boot C. And so where are we on this front? Well, we have still items on roadmap. So we try and keep the roadmap updated. And yeah, one of the two biggest item that we would have to get done is so actually building the images somewhere that is better than what we have right now. The builds are not up to the task in the Fedora Infra, and so the solution would be building them in conflicts. Then we would need to build ISOs as well, and so we would need support for Image Builder for ISOs in Image Builder. This is work that's also happening in progress right now, so this is great. If you want to have the whole details, go check out the issue tracker with all the details, and yeah, help us make it happen. And now I have one final thing, which kind of like special announcement here, which hasn't been shown before, is that we have what we call sealed bootable container images, and we have some images made that I've built that are ready for testing. So what do these actually mean? The idea with those images is that you get all the components that you need for booting a fully verified boot chain for rebooting your system, signed with Secure Boot, and you can trust that what you're booting is actually exactly what you have in your system, what you wanted. And so this relies on a chain of multiple things, on using systemd boot as the bootloader, then chaining to a unified kernel image that is signed, and then finally we have the final system using ComposeFS, which is managed by bootc. And so those images, you can go and take a look at details on GitHub right now in my personal repo, and they are hosted on Quay in other repos. I'll announce that again. Like, this is testing images. It's not an official release of images for Fedora. It's test images so that we can let people give it a try. And they will be re-announced essentially alongside the release with a small post on the Fedora magazine. But what's interesting is that I've actually been running this presentation from such a system here, so I can actually show you what it looks like. So here I reinstall my computer using these images. And so if I go and look at bootc status, it tells me that I'm booted from one of those Atomic Desktop build image here. I'm booting using Kinoite, a build that I made yesterday. And so that's the digest of the content image, but that's also the digest of like my actual file system. So this is verifying that the operating system I'm running is actually this one and not something else. And so if I go and look at bootgtl, it's showing me that I have secure boot enabled. It's using my own keys. I have TPM support. I am using a UKI, and it has been measured. So everything is green, essentially, using systemd boot as the bootloader. And yeah, if I go look at my actual, the actual content of my system, it's a compose.fs image with an fs verity hash. And so I have the guarantee that everything is verified. When I access the binary on the disk, I'm guaranteed that it's actually the right version of bash that I want and I'm running on my system. And yeah, I have one last comment that shows that I have enrolled my own keys here on this laptop. And so I am in control of what I get to sign and how I want things to look like, what I want to actually boot on the system. All right, let's go back here. So yeah, those images that are here ready for testing, available there. And feel free to reach out. We love getting new people showing up and trying out things and building on top of what we have. It's the beauty of the bootable containers. It's very easy to start with a container and modify something and publish it again for others to try out. So there will be the full details from Fedora Magazine post next week for the release. And yeah, you can find us on the wiki, on the rooms, on Matrix, etc. And that's it. Thank you very much. I have 1 minute for question. That's going to be short.
Awesome. Thank you, Timothy. So yeah, we did have one question, and I think that'll be the one we can do. This is a question about Fuse. Oh, sorry, I sent you back, and I sent not your presentation. Hold on, let me bring you back, and put the screen share away. Okay, there we go. So I think we have time for one question. I'm the next speaker. I'm okay. We can answer this question. So this is a question that came in the chat about Fuse 2. How would one mitigate the removal for packages that do not have Flatpak releases, aka only release as app images?
So there's two options. If you said there's no Flatpak for a specific application, and the app images is actually depending on those, so I would recommend the first step is to go and reach out to the upstream project, because most of the time they don't know that they are using an older app image runtime. The tooling is very specific for app images, and a lot of the time, they just don't know, and they would have to figure out how to actually use a new runtime that don't rely on those libraries. But then the other option is you can extract the app image. So app image is a single file, but you can also extract it and run it from there, from an extracted app image. That's also a temporary workaround option. And finally, if you want to, there's nothing preventing you from layering the libraries again. So you can reinstall those libraries if you want. So yeah, multiple options. There's even like building a sysex if you want as another option to work around this issue.
All right, great. Thanks so much, Timothy. I think that is all the time we're going to have for questions, but thank you so much for coming up and giving us the update on all things new with Atomic Desktops. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Justin. See you.
See you next time. Okay, so now I'm the next presenter. I'm hopeful. I've been having a little bit of performance challenges while running the stream. So I'm going to try to share my screen and hope that it keeps up. But before I share my screen, so first, also, this isn't, I don't have slides or a presentation, but I am going to take you through some things about Flock. I guess before getting into it, I'll do another quick introduction. I'm Justin Wheeler. I've been in the Fedora community for about a little bit over a decade, and I've been at Red Hat as the Fedora community architect since 2022. One of the biggest things that I do in my job at Red Hat is I am one of the main organizers for the Flock to Fedora conference. Not the only one, but one of them. And we are getting ready. It's just hardly less than 2 months away before we're going to have our annual conference get together of the Fedora community to talk about project strategy, do workshops to help drive some of our various work streams forward, and share a little bit about what our community has been up to and where we're going as a project. Flock is a really important part of our community because it's really where we get to not only to showcase the technology and the work and plan about the future and think about what's coming, but Fedora has these 4 foundations: freedom, friends, features, first. I could talk about all of them with Flock, but I think the one that's most special, for me, and I think also a lot of people, is the friends aspect of Flock. Because not only are we solving these problems and working on this distribution and shipping an operating system every 6 months, but we really value, in my experience and what I've seen from others, doing the work together with our community is a big part of that. And Flock, I think, is one of the best places where it's all on display. We have not everyone in our community, because of course travel is not always accessible for everyone, but we do try to bring as many people as we can together for a few days to both drive the project forward and kind of build community culture as well. I think that's really important for all the offline or all the online stuff that happens throughout the year. For many folks, Flock can help, be the engine that helps push some of that work forward. So I'll go ahead and share my screen now. Let's see. So I'm just going to highlight a couple of things because I don't have a lot of time to highlight it, but you can go to the fedoraproject.org website, fedoraproject.org/flock/2026 for this year's edition. If you've been following, we're actually going back to Prague this year. We were in Prague last year as well, so it'll probably be our last year going to Prague, I suspect. But you can find all the key details of the conference and how we run it. Just to give an idea of the structure for those 3 days, June 14th, 15th, and 16th. The 14th is meant to be more of a hands-on workshop day. We're not going to have live streaming or video recording for that day, but that one is meant to be mostly offline working sessions of teams that have, things that they're trying to accomplish and planning work, or, getting some alignment on something. You can find all of the schedule online as well if you want to see what is coming. On June 15th and June 16th, those are kind of the main days. They're more talk-heavy days of the conference. Not only, but they lean that way. They will be recorded and live streamed. And just like this event, we will have rooms on Matrix for people who want to participate virtually with the various tracks that we're going to have. You can find more details about the schedule. Yes, and the schedule is live now, so you can actually go and look at it. Because of my performance issues, I'm not going to at the moment. You can find some other information. We have, you'll see some other sponsors start to pop up here in the next few weeks. I'm really excited about all the different folks and companies and organizations that, put their money where their mouth is and help support our community and help bring our community together. One thing I'll mention too, if you want to get a deeper dive, actually, there was a Fedora podcast episode. I think this was it's like 2 weeks ago, April 9th. So me and Emma Kidney, who's one of the lead designers for Flock, and also is one of the leads of the design team as well with Madeline Peck. Me and Emma went on the podcast with the hosts, and we talked about both kind of the behind the scenes part of Flock, what to expect. So I think if you want a deeper dive on this, absolutely take a listen on this podcast. You can also find it on YouTube as well. That one, you'll get the video if you want to watch it. But you can also find it, I think it's on, it's on Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, RSS. I didn't even know all these things we publish the podcast on. That's really cool. Nevertheless, though, that's going to give a deeper dive. And one thing I do want to highlight, and a little excerpt from the podcast, something I've been really excited about and seeing some of the design work, is that there was a community survey or poll a few months back that the design team ran about getting a theme or identifying a theme for Flock. The theme that we came up with, or that the community and the design team came up with, was alchemy, because this ties into the medieval history of Prague. There's some really cool design research that the design team did to actually understand about not only, of course, the Fedora community, our mascots, and, our other various things, our swag that we produce, but trying to create a cohesive theme around not just our project and our community, but also the place where we're going. And one of the things I always love about Flock is that we usually do change the city and get a different perspective of different countries and cultures. So I just really admire the work that the design team has done to create some of that theming. And you can sure bet that you're going to see some of this come out in some of the conference t-shirt and some of the printed assets. So do keep an eye out for some of that. It was a really cool work that the design team did, and Emma helped lead around that theming. But otherwise, the other thing I would highlight is registration. We mentioned this in the opening remarks too. I should have had the link up here and preloaded because everything is slow right now for me. But if you go to RSVP, or what, maybe because my network is a little bad. If someone in the Matrix chat would do me a real solid and put the rsvp.fedoraproject.org link for Flock. Registration is free, but it's required. And if you think you're going to go and you're wanting to attend, please make sure you register, because that's how we know how much food to order. We provide lunches at the conference, so you can expect that we'll feed you in the afternoon. We have some evening socials that we need to plan for. And also the exclusive limited conference swag. So if you want to guarantee a t-shirt or something like this, you do need to make sure that you register. Otherwise, it'll be first come, first serve. I think those are kind of the main highlights. I do have a little bit more time, so maybe I will look at the schedule, because honestly, just looking at the schedule makes me excited about all the things that people are bringing to the community. You'll find some of the things that you just heard about in the release party, things like Fedora Server, even though this is actually the workshop day, so it's not going to be recorded, but you'll find workshops on Fedora Server, container, like all things containers, some of the PR-based gating. You heard about the Packit talk earlier today. Jens Peterson, one of our other speakers today, talking about F-branch, doing a workshop for that. A docs BOF that Petter actually mentioned in his talk before. Our keynotes, you'll see as well. Something else I'll mention that we do is the Mentor Summit. This is something that we do as an integrated activity as part of the conference to create a culture of mentorship in the community. There's a various small little things that you'll find throughout the conference. One of the things that we do is like a mentor-mentee lunch matching. So again, I will kindly ask someone in the chat to put a link to, actually, I don't know if we have the discussion topic. I think it's coming very soon. So I think by Monday, April 27th on Fedora Discussion, we're going to have a sign up for topics to know what do people want to talk about and provide mentoring or be mentored on. And this year we'll do it differently, that you don't have to sign up in advance for the lunch. You can just show up and we'll have the topic tables prepared for everyone. But I encourage you all to go through the schedule and start thinking about what's interesting to you. Everything on Monday and Tuesday will be live streamed and recorded. So if you are not able to travel and make it there, you're going to be able to watch all of this from home as well. And of course, it will end up on the Fedora YouTube as well. Lots of great stuff. Particularly, I'm going to be interested to see this one about the history of Beefy Miracle, just for the lulz. But there's some good stuff in here, and I encourage everyone, if you are going to go, make sure you register. Start building your schedule. You can actually star the talks, and you can build your own custom schedule of what you want to go to. There's definitely more I could talk about, but again, I'm going to defer because we just did this awesome Fedora podcast episode all about Flock, and to get the deeper dive, that one's 49 minutes. So if you want to get the full scoop and hear a little bit more about the backstory of how the conference came together this year, do take a look at the podcast. I think I'll be able to drop that in the Matrix chat, hopefully. Yeah. Okay. So I'll save some time for questions. I'm going to go ahead and close my screen share here. Try to help me with my performance a little bit. Oh, no, I'm Sharing another screen. No. My device cannot handle this. Sorry, Restream. Okay, let me peek through the chat here. Oh, yeah, I just saw about the flipping the screenshot. Well, fortunately, all the links that I shared, both the podcast, the pre-talk schedule, and the Flock website, you can find all of these things online. So they're super accessible. You can find all those things I just shared on my screen right now. So I do hope, yes, thank you, Bitten, for sharing the link to the podcast there on YouTube. But otherwise, I'm just scrolling through here to see if folks have any questions about Flock. Like, y'all have me up here on stage. You can grill me on this. I don't see any questions. I see some enthusiasm, and I see all the links. So that is helpful. Thank you, folks, for helping promote the links. All right, I don't see any questions. So I think I don't think we ended up finding, we were trying to schedule something in at that last slot, but I don't think we ended up, actually, I see it's removed from the schedule. I just refreshed the page. So Jeff, are you still hanging out here with me? You want to come on up and we'll officially close out the party? All right, I'm going to bring you on up. Here we go.
Hey.
All right. So we made it to the end. This was another successful release party. And actually, like, let me just peek at the chat here. We've got, I think this is, well, I will say during the COVID times when everything was virtual, we were getting like 700, almost got 1,000 people for one. But this one was really well attended. We had 457 people and maybe a couple bots, our event bot and Zod bot, that joined the room. So I'll have to look at the actual registration data as well after the party. But, I've been really excited to see the enthusiasm and also that we are actually kind of like stress testing Matrix here a bit. Haven't had some of the, I think it did okay, but we had a lot of activity this time. So that was kind of a fun, or it was a fun part of the party. Any closing thoughts or remarks from you, Jeff? Any wisdom to opine before we officially close down the stream for the day? I'll give you the closing gavel here.
No, I just want to thank everybody for participating in the release party, and thanks again to everyone who has put effort into this release. It's highly appreciated, and I will say one thing: I am looking forward to the history of Beefy Miracle at Flock. That's a session I will be going to. I will be putting that on my calendar right now. So, and with that, I think that's a good place to leave this on that note.
All right. Well, thank you, Jeff, for all the help in pulling it together as well. Thank you again to all of our amazing volunteers and the release party team that helped pull this together. And don't forget that you can also help out and participate in the next one when we start to do this all over again this October. So with that, folks, thank you again for your time and your attention. You can expect that we'll eventually get these chopped up into individual videos on the YouTube channel. But stay tuned. You can also access the YouTube VOD immediately if you want to go back and catch anything that you might have missed. Otherwise, folks, I think let's go ahead and end it here. I'm going to go ahead and end the stream. Thanks so much for being here, and we'll see you in the Fedoraverse for the next release cycle. Take care, everyone. I have to just click the button.